being able to access that and who has access and things like that. There's lots that we're not even talking about that need to be.
Before that, I wanted to ask, what do you? I'm unclear on taking the dollar from the people's hours.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish that point. So let's just easy numbers is $12.50. If people can do $12.50 a week, it's 25 in 2 weeks, it's 50 in a month, and that's 600 in a year for each person. And if you have 300,000 people doing 600 a year, that's $180 million.
For UBI?
No, towards funding and pooling money together as a grassroots movement to actually benefit the people, all power to all people, and not me, us, and all that. It's like it's not about me. It's not about a cult of personality. It's about setting things right in order to make an impact while we still have breath, while history is being written, and they're going to be like, where were you during the 2020s? Where were you during the 2030s? Because you're alive during that time. You have the ability to possibly be a significant factor in that. Most people aren't, and history just happens. But there are some people that make history.
Well, I wanted to add in on to that because you're constructing something similar onto the ideas of where I'm at. And if by chance, which would be a really crazy chance that we could pull it off, is get people to understand something like that, I think, and this is what I was working on, why I've kind of backed out of politics in general, is because I see there's a little more power in a different arena, and not individual power, I mean this for the people. If there's some type of nationalized cooperative network that is taking, because we can't do anything with zero money, and if we do decide to do this politically, we would need a lot of money to get our party leader into place. So taking those funds and making a nationalized cooperative, where we start slowly replacing the things that are in everyday lives with things that we cooperatively own. Discussing because we're going to need a UBI. Things are going to automate so fast, there's going to need to be a UBI. And we can't really rely, we can slowly pay ourselves, like we're basically talking about paying our own wages out of this system. So there's at a certain point, we're going to have to invest into, for instance, we're literally on a platform that brings in a ton of money right now. If this was a cooperatively owned platform,
nice and comfy,
this conversation itself would be adding into the UBI. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty girl.
And that's where I'm aiming at. I'm going, if we want to own America at this point, if people want America back, we basically do everything by our choices of what we participate in. And our choice of what we participate in has been minimalized to conglomerates of these corporations. So the real way to get ourselves back out of it and have a voice back into the politics is owning somewhat of the corporations of where we have a voice. It's like these massive strikes. They say black out the system and replace it with what? If there's nothing to replace what we're blacking out, all we're doing is taking a break from the thing we're going to step back into. The people that have organized this system, they know about stops. They know how to invest in. When we announce 3 months ahead of time we're going to black out the system, they adjust the market so those days they make money off of our blackout. So when you're talking about raising the money from the people, I think it's really, really, really smart to have a game plan of where we're going to put that money and having a democratic decision of how we're going to execute that plan. And that's the other thing when you have these cooperative corporations, they're ran democratically. There's no one man. And Ryan, you should know this as well. I'm sure you're invited to every event our electric company has to have a say-so on what they're going to allocate their funds on, as well as I do. You probably catch a dividend every year. So those types of structuring, it's getting people to understand how they can use the system, the corporate system, to start rebuilding their communities. It's one thing to talk about doing it politically. It's another thing to go and just start doing it. Because when you're fighting for the right to get into office, you're fighting for the right to make the change. And first you have to win the right to make the change, when really the change we're trying to make is in the way we do business with one another. It's not necessarily so political. And if you can change the option of what gas station you're getting your gas station, is it the gas station my town owns, or is it the corporate gas station? Is it the Walmart, that's the Walmart, or is it the town's Walmart? So those are the types of things where I'm going, we have more power. the corporations redesigned our system to give them more power than the people. So right now, if the people want power, it's going to be through the corporate field.
Yes.
So
we're going to be best buddies because I put together just a couple of weeks ago and submitted a 501c3 for an organization I'm calling the Frontier Leaders Academy for Revolutionary Enterprise. And what it does is it educates, trains, and equips young people to start workers' cooperatives.
awesome.
Yes, we need to
So,
monetize
you
the
guys,
work.
I want to go back to what Populous was talking about. Okay, because I really like what he's thinking. And what I understand, Populous, you're saying is that we need to start an organization where we get Americans to donate 1 hour of pay every week to I hate to use the term party, okay, but to a group of people,
Coalition.
coalition, that in return would take that money and let's say Brian and Pushcheck, even though they may not agree on things, but they do agree that if they get to Congress, they will work together with all members of Congress, that they can be eligible for that part of that fund. If they say, you know what, I won't be a Democrat, a diehard Democrat, if they would not be eligible.
Yes, exactly. So that is what the next phase of the Populous People's Party would be, because I'm not running on that, technically. It'd just be independent, but that would come as phase 2 after winning the campaign. And but the money for right now, of course, it'd be democratically. It can be affected by a democracy of the people involved in contributing, and some things will have to be said from the foundation papers and stuff. But regarding new decisions and things like that, even as far as with aides and workers and volunteers, are they volunteering, or am I paying them minimum wage? Are you paying them a little bit better? Are you paying them fairly? And rather than just one person deciding these things, everybody together, because we need to start voting like it's the 21st century. We still vote like it's the 20th century using, old methods and things. And that's because the Republicans and Democrats want it that way, because there's extra ways to create obstacles. And you can, we just came through a pandemic. You can vote from home. We can vote using technology. We can vote with blockchain, where it's completely transparent and it's 100% voter fraud proof. You can't rig it. If you care and think somebody's deceased, okay, well, Zoom calls them and get them on camera and prove that they're, not. But the burden is on the state to prove that you're ineligible to vote, and which it should be an inalienable right. We'll vote on that soon. That's coming too later, as far as having American people vote to have even people that are incarcerated, they don't lose their right to vote. If you have that many people locked up where it's going to affect the election, you have too many people jailed. But we'll vote on that later. That's not something that, made unilaterally. But, hopefully be able to convince and sell it as a campaign and get the people on the side of, yeah, that makes sense and what's right. So we need to have the money in order to campaign, as well as also build up other structures. And I've been talking with Cancel This Conspiracy Theory, Cancel This clothing company. He's on here on TikTok and stuff, but he's done a lot of work with tracing the money on
welcome
all
in.
the big companies and corporations in America.
You can hear this is
BlackRock
our town hall.
heavily invested in
Timothy?
70-80% of things that are out there.
Appreciate you being here.
And so,
It's only our second live on.
And even if it's not a monopoly, we understand we're all familiar with duopolies. And so if you have AT&T versus T-Mobile, it's still a monopoly. And even with like all these different news channels and stuff, if
in 2040,
children of Murdoch own this and these other people own that, like it's still.
Are you joking or are you serious?
Just a very small oligarchy that's controlling things. And so we use this money in order to, build what we need to. And he's working with figuring out the bad companies. And you can also figure out who are the good companies that do check off all the list of fair trade, of not exploiting, of having co-ops, of having democracy in the workplace and things like that, or whatever. That we can support those and platform those and say, yeah, get your toilet paper from here. That's ethically sourced and fair trade, and the people that work it are a co-op or whatever, and everything. Where there's gas
We're down here in
stations, say,
Florida.
Don't go to Pilot, don't go to this, don't go to that. Don't go to
Manatee County, Sarah,
like,
Hillsborough County, Manatee County, all of Manatee County.
With robots,
Congressional
and
District 16.
self-driving cars that aren't here yet. Elon Musk needs to be sued over that. They aren't self-driving. He did that to make money. So he needs to be sued. But he's cutting corners.
Where are you located?
They're assisted driving. But anyway,
It's a
even
federal
with Walmart
campaign,
and having,
so you
cashiers
can
being eliminated,
you can support, not
workers
talking
in
financial,
general,
but
Amazon with
pushing out
robots
the
and
message.
stuff.
You can support
That's
from anywhere
fine.
in the country.
Use all the robots you want, but we need to make sure we're in control of the politics, because if we let the capitalists control it, they'll let you starve and die. If you're not useful to capitalism, they are okay with that. Okay, we need to make sure we're in control of the politics, because we need to make sure that the money, the revenue that Walmart or Amazon or whatever makes is coming back into society, so you don't have to work. Like, yeah, make all the money you want, TikTok. But yeah, like we said, if we nationalize targeted things, then we can put that money back towards what we want it to go towards. Taxation isn't automatically bad. It's bad because we're not in control of where it's going towards, bombs and harming Black and brown people abroad and at home domestically. But that's other things that need to be tackled, these issues and stuff. And so being aware of all of these things, making sure that whatever actions we're taking are all conducive and aligned with ultimately furthering the goal of all of these different sectors, and making sure, like you said, UBI and democratizing the workplace and making sure everybody has a good standard of living, and just getting it back to simplicity and the basics. I said that you can win a campaign just off of making it easier to raise a family, easier to own a home, and easier to retire with dignity. You win a campaign just like that. The Republicans and Democrats, they put propaganda out to make you think that they're 50-50 with the American population, and that's not true. I told you that there's a lot of invisible people that aren't accounted for and aren't considered because they don't participate and they don't vote, and they're fine with that. They say, yeah, just stay out of it, and the decision's still going to be made. You're just not making the decision. But if you bring those people in, and that's what I'm trying to do, as far as get people that are disillusioned and that think it's not worth their time or whatever, and say, trust me, if you just do it this one time, and like, it's not about hitting the Death Star with a photon. What I look at it like is hitting the system of white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism with a wrecking ball with surgical precision in order to crack it or demolish it. And you have to sever all the different strings attached so that the capital can't weasel its way back in with a little wedge here or a little bit of power here and sway here. And so you have to be aware everywhere that they're going to try to do that thing and tackle it and sever it, and so that they are able to do it.
We need to let other people talk.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in for a moment on this. Anyways, the thing too you got to remember here is the numbers of the populations. Like I was saying before, and you brought up that I didn't know, like 9 states are actually multicultural. And this is a hard thing to grasp and work with. We want to be a really tolerant nation. We want to be the most tolerant nation there in the world. If we want to be the most tolerant nation, we will have to learn how to incorporate and allow a certain degree of intolerance. There's too many, and I'm totally with you, but to say we're going to smash the white, we're people of color and people that are a little weird are the minority in this country. There's no way for the minority just to smash it. You have to make it a system that works for these people, that, like you said, you're not going to be able to educate all of these, understand what's going to be right for them. You just have to get them the better option that's right for everybody. You can't, imagine you're going to take a nation that's majority of white people that are undereducated, that are underprivileged, way out in the middle of nowhere, and get them to understand things the way we want them to understand things. You just have to integrate a system for them that basically works for everybody, even without them really learning. It's simple things as them. If their grocery store changes and they're just shopping there and they haven't voted different, they haven't changed their ideology, but now their participation in their own community is really well-being. And it's kind of like, we have a town that's starting right now. It's an all-white, all-Christian town. I don't really like that. But am I against it into the idea that I think because freedoms? No, we're going to have to tolerate their intolerance. And in this future, when we're talking about building a better world, give the people the options. You say, listen, you will benefit from any town. Like if you're all white, that means you don't get benefits from towns where we're multicultural. You know what I'm saying? So it's allowing.
I do know. I understand. I have to appeal to the self-interest. I know. I'm being blunt when I say exactly what. I'm not, without mincing words and going exactly what's going on. But yes, white supremacy hurts the average worker, white working class white person as well. If Florida did successfully kick out everybody that they wanted to, the undesirables to them, that they would. Do you think that the remaining working class people in Florida would be exploited less or exploited more? Because
Florida would collapse. It would collapse.
They'll make them desperate enough to have to, do whatever is necessary and pick oranges or strawberries or whatever.
But I just wanted to bring that point. I'm not fighting. We're working together. I just want to be clear that, that's one of the weirdest things about this is, and we've talked about this before, like educating the populace. It's like we're like, they've put a lot of money into dumbing people down, and there's so much work in educating people that would take us so long. You just have to kind of, and I hate to sound like a trickster, but you just start swapping things out on their shelves, and they haven't even made a vote or changed their ideology. It's just most people are beyond that, and I'm not trying to be rude to any Americans out there. But most people are beyond politics, beyond rationalizing things, beyond critical thinking. So there's a huge voter base out there.
They identify with.
Yes,
So,
and so
I want to make a comment. So you said something about the undesirable, which is highly offensive to me, because it's like this. I was in a group at 2 o'clock this morning.
I'm not saying it like I believe it.
I was in this group, and they didn't like my opinion. So they said, you know what, you're allowed to your stupid opinion. You know what, it's my opinion. It's not stupid. Just like when you say to people they're undesirable, they're not undesirable. They just have a different opinion from what someone else believes. And so rather than degrading them as undesirable, we need to talk to them about talk to them about being human beings.
I'm saying the powers that be in Florida, as far as the legislation that they're pushing and the agenda that they have and the way that they view people they don't want to live in Florida, that they want to figure out ways to remove them or push them out or whatever. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I think that way. I'm not using that. I'm just using it in order to communicate what their agenda is and what they're doing. That I'm not saying that they want certain things and stuff, and that's what they view, their world view, and their clan and posse, collude together in order to do. I'm not doing that. As I'm saying, but that's what we're facing.
Right, and
So
I
when
totally
I
agree.
say undesirables, I'm talking about those conservatives that don't want certain people a part of their society or their towns or their government or whatever, or their state. And when I said invisible, I was talking about people that aren't represented by the Republicans or the Democrat. When they do surveys, that half of both Republicans and half of the Democrats feel that they don't properly fit in the party that they're aligned with and voting for, and that if they had a better option, they would take it. And so that means that because the Republicans and Democrats really only have 30% each. And so if you take half of that, they'd only have 15 and 15, and that leaves 70% up for grabs. And if you have all of those 70%, that's enough to win an election.
Yeah, you got 46% independents and 36% of registered voters didn't vote this election because they felt underrepresented.
Yes, and that was the biggest thing. So most of the numbers were the same from last election to this election, and the biggest demographic change was among the demographic of white men that didn't like Trump's proposals and weren't sold by Kamala Harris's campaign and stayed home. And them staying home, like you said, as far as like splitting the vote, them staying home handed Trump the victory.
That's what we're going to see locally here. Also, if I could jump in, locally here in a three-way race, we have almost out of a district that encompasses about 1 million people. We're looking for a voter turnout based off last figures about 300,000 maybe. If it's a three-way race, that's going to just help us, obviously. But we'd rather have just a two-way race with the backing of the Democrats.
So, Marcos, I want to ask you a question. I really like this. I really like your concept of the 1 hour, hours paid donated. But the other problem I see, if you have you thought about, is like Anthony. Anthony does a lot of his social media stuff. But then when I do mine, I do it. So have you thought about a way to implement so that we have, all of us will have a social media person that was your party that said, okay, I will take social media and I will take Push Chuck and Ryan and make it so that they can use a generic social media push that
Yes,
each
so
of them individually.
I have plans for an app. I have plans for an app that people can earn income from, as far as by investing time and by hitting goals or checking in daily. Is basically almost like games. They have mobile games on your phone that you can play, and they have like time as far as like tasks or whatever. So like just by signing in and interacting in game, you can add an extra $1 in order to get another chance at whatever loot box or whatever. Like the details don't matter, but like another $1 here, another $3 here, another $1 here, and before you know it, you've contributed a lot. But it's all going towards the same cause, and it's all cooperatively owned and democratically run. And so it's not just one person that's running off of the money. And I also want a platform that's basically like YouTube, but it'd be for all of us panelists across the country. And anybody that agrees with this 10 bullet points that we'd all agree on, like stuff that's not up for debate, that's not controversial to us. We all are on the same page on certain things. And so anybody that wanted to have access to these funds and possibly get their campaign funded by the organization would be have to agree with certain things and never sign off on genocide or whatever. You see what I'm saying? And they'd have to back a UBI, and politicians' jobs is to figure out how to get it done. It's not to decide if it gets done. If people say they want UBI or they want universal health care, or they want this and that, you don't get to be anti-democratic and obstruct that. You figure out how to make it happen. And so, like, with every step that you take needs to be furthering that goal, not coming up with excuses and reasons, or even with having earmarks and long policies and legislation. Like, no, it needs to be simple. It needs to be line item, and rather than having it all tied together and saying, like, where did this come from with Utah? How did they get this little kickback? Like, no, that doesn't need to be in there.
Well, Populous, I would tell you, I would really like to talk to you. Where are you at? What state?
I mean, I'm on the internet, so we could always talk here, but I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, that's fine, because after I go to Arizona, I'm going head towards Atlanta to Florida.
Yeah, we can meet in person, have lunch and stuff.
Right.
But I've been working on this for a while. Like there's a lot of nuance and details behind the scenes and stuff, and tying a lot of stuff together. But as far as like the base, even when Bernie Sanders was running, I had time talking with his campaign chairwoman, Nina Turner, and was talking about like they were running on certain things, and I was like, what's his stance on this issue and that issue that he isn't vocally talking about or staying away from or whatever. And she's like, yeah, some things you can't like lead with that in order to win the election. But even Bernie Sanders was just a compromise. He's not like, a king exalted or somebody put on a pedestal. He's a servant doing the job, and he was convenient and at that time a compromise where everybody would be, okay, yeah, we'll back you. But he still has his flaws, and he's still a Zionist and all that stuff or whatever. But he's still a Democrat, and he didn't want to run as an independent because he was afraid of being Nader, he says. But that's what's necessary because on a nationwide level, we need to get out of this. Like, we are in boiling water. We are on the precipice of fascism outright, and they're implementing more and more of it throughout every aspect of our life in the government. And so we need to fight back at this. And we don't have time to do things the slow way. We've been spinning our wheels too long.
Can I interject?
Caught up to the Democrat versus Republicans exactly like they want us to be.
I just wanted to interject and say that I think that we, as the people in this group in particular, we need to be really careful about saying things like we're on the precipice of fascism, because I think we need to all kind of come to terms with we're there, man. Like, we're there. And we're at the point right now that there are things that have already been done and that I've already heard that have been testing our current distribution of power, have been testing our constitution, have been testing our judicial system, congressional, all of the things, right? So I think that it's really important for us as people who are already in this space and already engaged and looking at the problem as multifaceted, what we're going to do to change it. I think it's so important that we're very deliberate with our words and making sure that we stand strong and say, hey, it's already happening, So acknowledging the problem is always kind of the first step before you begin to solve things. And I think that we need to pull people on board and help them realize, hey, we're here. We're already here. There are certain things that have already passed that we're not going to be able to hit the delete button on. That sucks. And it's just going to continue to suck. But now that I've acknowledged that, what am I going to do to fix that, to stop the hemorrhaging, and to, try to correct course as much as possible?
Hello?
Yes, and I agree with you. Push check. As you can see, I'm really hard to get your name because I have to learn.
My first name's Amanda. It's so much easier, I promise.
Oh, okay, good. But anyway, what I'll tell you, I would really like to talk to you about my healthcare plan. I don't know if you ever heard it. I would like to talk to you sometime about it. But I agree with you. We should be really careful about how we present ourselves, because it's like this. People ask me all the time, do you like Trump? And I tell them, or they could say Biden, whoever, doesn't matter. If I told you guys, I like this person, the people who don't like him will not support me. If I said I don't like this person, the people who like this person will not support me. And this is why I try to be very careful about what I answer and what I say, is because we need to get every American on our side. And so if we just say those random words, we will lose people, and we can't afford to lose anyone. And that's why I so encourage you to be careful about what I say.
I agree. I think that, so like for me in particular, because I am running in the reddest district in the country, there are a lot of people who are very hesitant to say that, hey, we're in the fascism, right? there's a lot of folks that are really hesitant to say that. However, it's so important for me, and I think all of us to realize that there is a bridge that we crossed with the big bill, right? And that is having some irreparable consequences, especially if we do not win in this upcoming election for like the House and the Senate. And so that is sort of a point of no return. And I think that comes back to a bit of that education. Right now, the media, especially like even our government outlets, are saying, "Oh no, it's the bestest thing ever." Blah 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 blah. So I carry around pieces of the bill. I literally have, about 80 of the printed pages out of, 1,000 pages. So that when people do have questions, we can look at it together. Okay, this is what it says. This is what it means. And yes, that does mean that it takes more time. And yes, that's probably not the best use of my time necessarily as a leader who is trying to rally people. But the point is that we cannot begin to rally them until they understand what the problem is. And that, unfortunately, at least in my state, is becoming quite a large part of the candidate's responsibility because we do not have the state infrastructure or political party infrastructure to provide that education. At least that's in Alabama.
So the reason I say it like that is because our climate, our government system, the political climate has elements of socialism, it has elements of capitalism, it has elements of fascism, and at various levels, and they're ebbing and flowing. And if we were truly in the thick of fascism, then they would have totalitarian power, and there would be no way to resist or fight back. We would be too desperate to even consider doing a strike and things like that. We're almost there, but we aren't there yet. There are still ways out. The final nail isn't in the coffin.
I hear you,
That's why I
Pablis.
say
I think that just my problem with that is if that we're almost contributing to a degree of whitewashing when we say that, right? I understand what you're saying, and that is a very intellectual stance to take, and that's very true, right? Our words and our understanding of words and our definition of them changes throughout time. And so what is fascism for us as Americans right now is we think probably like Hitler, right? But this is our version. This is our version of it. And so maybe the exact word isn't in particular the best definition because the definition is constantly changing. But I'm also very hesitant that if we do not call it what we have for the closest definition for it currently, that we're going to whitewash it, just like the literal government post from this administration is doing. And I think that that's part of yeah, exactly. It's something that we have to make that dedicated choice to stand up for because what the people, the voters are looking for right now is something different. They believe that the two-party system is bogus, that no one stands up for them, no one believes in anything. And so if this is what the administration is saying that they're not, then we need to be the antithetical to that. We need to give people an actual option that is different and that they have an understanding of represents them.
And so if we were truly in fascism, though, like if the administration makes the wrong step, they can ruin everything. If they started having unaliving squads that were doing stuff that was crossing the line, then the American people would put their foot down.
But do you not think that them going ahead and like kidnapping people off the streets with ICE and stuff is already crossing the line? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, we have to take a stand.
Yeah, it is, but like they don't have enough power to be able to do everything that they want to do and do it blatantly. Openly. Like, yes, they're testing us in different ways. Yes, they've crossed the line and violated, and so has the Zionist apparatus nation over there. Of course, they've crossed the line and stuff. But as far as like with this government and whether or not it is fascist, completely. and able to do whatever it wants to do, and we have to obey or face penalties. We still do have some liberties, freedoms, and leeway or ways to resist, or they can't just outright just mow down the protesters and just eliminate them. They aren't able to do that because there would be an uproar, and we'd have protest against that immediately. And that's why they don't want us to know what's going on in Nepal. They don't want us to know what's going on in France. They don't want us to know what all the protests and shutdowns and strikes and these other nations that America it has a extremely high tolerance level. Like France will protest and shut down stuff and get violent over the smallest infractions, but Americans are lulled into passivity, and especially like even with under Biden, the trend is like the American populace would have been donating more to Palestine or would have been joining memberships and groups and stuff if it were under a Republican administration, because they feel guilty and they feel like they have to do something to differentiate themselves from the bad people. And so they performatively do things. And then when things calm down, or they seem to, or the news isn't in their face telling them about problems, then they don't feel like they have to continue with their memberships and their donations or whatever and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, and I think that Americans as a whole believe that their political participation is voting, and that's it. And something that I'm trying to do in my campaign is telling them that the voting is the finish line, that activism and organizing and building community and discussing and establishing a plan for the future together is what leads up to the vote, and is your civic duty to engage in well before you go into that ballot box.
You're right. I agree. They try to tell us like that's the end all be all. We'll see you in 4 years. You don't have to lift a finger or do anything. But that's not true. No.
Right. And so, you guys, I think our message should be this. You know what? Trump said, vote this one time, you never have to vote again. And I think our message should be, you know what? You voted last time, and we need to vote again for people who wants to unite and work for the people. I mean, I think that, right.
With every action that you take, let that be an expression of your political will on the world.
Yeah,
Right.
you guys, I was thinking, and this is kind of off topic. I'm just jumping in here, but a couple of years ago, 2024, we tried to get Hands Across America to happen because we were seeing that there was a major divide. We were like, let's try to do this, and I walked like 400 miles trying to get people to do it. Well, I was just looking the other day. Anniversary of the 1986 attempt of Hands Across America was going to be 40 years ago, May 25th of 2026. And I think trying to get something like that would probably be a good thing to try to do again, is because there's if politics is our only way to show our voice, and like these little weird strikes aren't doing it, I think when we have the technology to do it really easily, like, I mean, yeah, it would take a lot of work, but I don't know, man. I think something big and weird like that would be beneficial. I know it's off topic, but we don't have the money to buy back our system, so we have to do action with our lives. And that's another way for us to express that we don't really, that was the whole point of it in the beginning. It was the system, we don't trust it. There's a lot of us out there that believe that we can do better if we show that we are united, and that our only options to work in this system is by choosing a side that takes us farther away from uniting. So just run it across the group while we're all throwing.
So, Marty, you're not off topic, buddy. I'll tell you that. Because we need these ideas on how we can unite the people. And that is, I mean, to me, that's really a great idea. that we should develop. So we developed the platform for Hands Across America for the people, not for a party, for the people. Because that's who we should all be working for. None of us should go to Washington and work for a party. Because we've already got that. We've had that for 100 years. It's not working for American people. So I like that idea that we should start figure out how can we organize that. Populist is really good at getting people support. I mean, that's something he should say. He should look into and say, you know what? We do this Hands Across America, and it says it's not for the party. It's for people who want to work for the American people.
Yeah, as well as the underrepresented. I mean, we're talking the numbers of people out there that are feeling underrepresented. I had all the math figured out. I think it's 6 million people it takes, I think, to make the line. I could be off. I can't remember now, but yeah. And the other thing is too, like when I was trying to get it established, there's like apps now where you can plan an event like this and people can like organize on the maps and say, oh, we could be at this location. In 86, their hardest issue was organizing it and trying to figure out the logistics. They didn't have the type of technology we have right now.
Right.
The numbers are there for the people to do it. The amount of underrepresented people. And again, if our voice doesn't have room in politics, we have to turn that we have to make action. But right. I don't know. Still, I feel we're in a really rough situation where I feel like almost symbolic things are really. We need to put our money where our mouth is. And the problem is, most of us don't have a lot of money, but we have a lot of mouths.
Yes.
But in this day and age, you don't need a lot of money if you have the right words. So I think this is very possible. If we present Hands Across America for the people, for the underrepresented voters of America, for the young people, you say that's who we're holding hands for, is for these people to make sure they know that we support them. If we get that message out on social media, we don't have to spend millions of dollars on mainstream media.
So if we can marshal that kind of mass action, why are we merely going for the symbolic gesture instead of actually doing something that affects the material conditions? I think that we can take that idea and actually, instead of making a symbol, making a statement that changes things.
Well, I agree with you.
It's like I say, we're in trying times. I feel like, I mean, even I've said it even before. I mean, like. Action at this point is more important than anything, and that is like it's symbolic, like you're saying, and I think it's cool, but there's no way to actually turn it into the change. It is recognition, but I don't know. There's also something, and this is going to sound trippy and mystical, but that's the type of person I am. Like I think there's something magical of having the feet of people in one body of water, one ocean, and the feet of people in another body of water on the other side of the country. And like the whole thing, the first time I did it was under the premise of unconditional love is basically what's going to get us out of this mess. And I figured if people could come together and make what you would call a circuit of human beings with their energy in an expression of like, hey, we really, really want to love each other in this nation, that would kind of, and this is some tricky stuff, like putting your feet in the water kind of vibrates that energy around the planet, like two oceans connected by a line of people that are doing it because they believe in the power of love. But that's some hippie trippy shit. Here's my language.
I mean, we have that. The internet does that. I mean, we have a global network of humanity all together. And I know that like the physical interaction is important.
And the opposite of that. The internet isolates people more than it connects people, and that's a proven fact.
The way the internet is used does isolate people. But here we are right now. Here we are talking. Here we are looking to expand this human experience into our streets, into our lives, into our entire country. And there is humanistic application for tools like the internet.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea, but and like you're saying, I agree with what you're saying, because I think we're having a constructive conversation of what can work, and it's good symbolically as like a grassroots thing, but for sure we have way more to do and more to focus on at the moment, I think, in just getting people's lives a little better, because it's getting extremely difficult for the average people.
Yes. So there's a concept called dialectical materialism. You don't have to get into it. I don't want to really explain it and stuff. Like I'll do it here. But the way I talk here, I am aware that we have 10 viewers, and so talking to this small group is much different than actually talking to everybody and sound clips and things like that or whatever. What dialectical materialism says is that, like, basically somebody that's lost in the woods has totally different priorities compared to somebody that might be lost in the city. Might be able to get a phone very easily, get a hospital very easily, find another person very easily, whatever. But somebody that's in the woods, they can either focus. They have a couple things to focus on. Whether it's food, shelter, and survival, or is it escape? And so you want to not completely be invested in escaping the woods, because if you don't find escape quickly, then the problem that you neglected of food, shelter, and safety will bite you in the butt. And so you have to walk and talk at the same time and chew bubble gum. And so you have to handle the local stuff. You have to handle, if you watch my videos, I have a couple different playlists. I have stuff pinned. But it all talks about how, we're going to take care of the stuff like the needs that you have right now, and we're going to take care of the needs for the future, and we're going to take care of the needs for the future, all at the same time.
Yeah, it's about threading the needle between the different tensions between competing needs.
And I want to have the largest 10 I want to, have enough support amongst the most amount of people without alienating people, but also not trying to court the right or something like that, like you or whoever, whichever party or whichever identity and stuff like that. Like, you're either going to see that this is going to benefit you, and that's the main reason that people are going to make the decision, is because the numbers work for them, and they know their situation, they know what they need, they know what they're lacking, and so if it makes sense to them in their personal situation, that's the easiest win as far as getting them on your side. But if you have a runaway train that's destined for success, then you'll have fair weather friends that'll jump on
hot
or plan at a later date, and that's fine. But there'll be people that'll be like 15% that's going to stay in the Democrats and 15% stay in the Republican. That's fine, because they ideologically truly support it and don't want to leave, and don't want to stop or whatever. That's fine. You can't control people, but you can just offer them better. And you want to attract the people that aren't voting, because Obama won because he was able to get a lot of people that haven't voted at all, and first-time voters and stuff that aren't participating. And Obama actually, and another reason, even when I talk about whiteness or the white demographic or vote or stuff like that, because Obama factually lost the white popular vote both elections. That's the fact. The fact is that the demographic of white women supported Trump's campaigns. That's a fact. There's individual anecdotal exceptions, yes, but generally, the general statistic is that a lot of white women supported Trump, and that's just the way it is. And that the white Americans, there were that voted for Obama, yes, but generally they voted for the opposition, and that's just the fact. So of course, on a national level, I want to be more careful about what you're saying and stuff. But I think this is a mature enough audience. We can deal in facts and try to minimize the emotional knee-jerk reactions and stuff like that, because my heart, and that I'm not taking these words as more than what they are, as far as is what it is, and it's just the climate that we're dealing with, and you just have to know what you're attacking and know what you're dealing with and know what you're up against in order to properly strategize.
Yeah, and the only thing I have to say about that is when you say something that anecdotally was, against Trump, that means that it is, statistically insignificant, and that's not accurate in that case. Yes, Trump did have a greater percentage of the white vote, but that doesn't mean that all but the anecdotal onesie-twosies of white people are in support of Trump. And I think that we need to just be clear in that even though, he might have taken, 55 to 45, I'm just throwing numbers out here. I forgot the exact statistic, but like there's still a lot of us that look like me who want nothing to do with his supremacist authoritarian stuff. And we have to understand that we can't alienate our allies and our coalition members by pushing them into a kind of monolithic sort of group.
General,
So that wasn't the conclusion that I was saying. I wasn't making it a monolith. I was just stating what the statistics say, and we should be able to discuss the statistics without extrapolating erroneous conclusion and jumping to conclusions that aren't there. Like it is what it is, and that's it. I'm not, adding extra words that I didn't say. I've only said the words that I've said, and so.
Also on behalf populace, because Ryan, where we are, like, we're minorities ourselves, perhaps thinking the way we do, but he's, in a position running for the president, he does have to consider it on the national level. And like I said before, like this country, like is like a lot of, and I'm not being like weird on white people. I've just done a lot of traveling, and it's a lot of like really, really poor white farming type towns. Like I've been to so many towns where you really don't see anybody but white people, and it's like strange because I'm from a culturally diverse areas, so and that is a massive majority. I mean, if you just look at the numbers of how many more white people are just in America than other races, it's like pretty heavy. So he does have to consider on his stance as a national position. Where we are, it is very like because I don't know. So I was telling you, check out the Unitarian Church. I think that a lot of people will support you over there in this district. A lot of, like you also said, it's all old people. I mean, it's weird to even run into somebody in our ages. I guess you're probably right.
I've talked to the minister of the UU Church a few times.
Yeah, they're all right folks. There are a bunch of people that go there.
So, like I said, because there's only 11 of us in the audience right now, like I'm hoping that I can be a little bit clearer with my words and tell you exactly, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying rather than saying it for general consumption. But yes, I do have to factor that in. I am glad that President Obama went first, so I don't have to deal with being the first Black president, and so it's not unheard of, and. So even if he was, whatever with his behind the scenes, but it's still beneficial towards progress and in the history books as far as getting us to the point where America could do what's necessary in order to properly steer us out of this mess. And we have to have somebody that's aware of these intersectional problems, and whiteness in general tries to not consider whiteness, and so it's like a fish swimming in water that doesn't see the water. And so, me specifically, explicitly calling it out is something unheard of. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Yes. So what? Like, that's the whole point. It needs to be called out. It needs to be tackled. It needs to be, it's not serving the average American, even though the average American is white. It's not serving the working class. It isn't doing what it's supposed to do. when you have child labor or when you have slave labor, you know, ultimately that just means they're paying white men less.
So
Do you understand that?
right, we've been going for
Like
almost 3 hours.
it's a way to keep from having to pay them more.
But we've been going almost 3 hours, and I want to thank you all for coming up. But there's another town hall meeting that's going to start in about 15 minutes. I would encourage you guys to go join that town hall meeting and see what's happening there. So I want to make sure we have a time to say a closing statement. And I also need to go back to deliveries. So I'm going to go, Amanda, if you want to go first for a closing statement, if you want to say anything, you're welcome to.
Fantastic. Closing statement. I think that we are all in agreement and realize that there's change that needs to happen. And that's the first step to change happening, right? Is recognizing that there's a problem and then thinking about it and mulling over at the best way to do it. I think that these sort of conversations allows us to do that. And we just need to pull more people in to have that on a broader scale, whether that's voters or constituents. I really appreciate the time here with you guys. I am actually about to head out to go marshal at a Gaza International Day of Protest. They needed some volunteers, so that's where I'm going. But I hope that you guys have a fantastic weekend and a great week. We're doing a good fight, and don't lose track of that. Let's keep going.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay.
Nice meeting you. Legit. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your consideration and trying to hear my message and what I am saying and read between the lines and stuff. I do encourage you to check out my platform, my page, my posts, and I do appreciate any likes that I see. If you can do multiple likes and multiple reposts and things like that, or and helping spread the message and things. But as far as I think it was Anthony. He had said something in the comments talking about like he represents. There is a larger portion of Americans that feel that we're past the point of electoral politics and voting, and that very may well be. But we haven't radicalized a sufficient mass of people in order to have them all be awake and aware of this fact. Or possibility, and if it is a fact, we need to have somebody that has the best chance, best shot, and still gets shut down and cut down by the system and not allowed to prosper and succeed in order to radicalize and say, yeah, no, wait, we wanted that to happen. And then they'll say, okay, yeah, I guess voting won't work if that's the case. And so I'm prepared for that as well, as far as whatever the future may hold and stuff like that. But if you put the game plan out there and you say what needs to be done and lay out all the steps, and once the spark's lit, then the torch can be carried by anybody. And it's just you have to have the right leadership to steer it in the right direction and make sure that everything gets covered and everybody's happy, and building the biggest coalition and the Big Ten for everybody to join on board and appeal to everybody's self-interest. And yes, it's going to be better for me here in Midwest.
you're still here. All right, I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna continue going on Facebook and YouTube. So if you would like to switch over there, I need this device. Thanks for staying here for almost 3 hours. Appreciate that. Look us up. We're across all platforms. Damn it. All right, so that didn't work. So here we go.
That is important. Sometimes your names can get booted from the registrar, and you think you all good until the day you go to go vote, and they say, "Oh, I don't see your name on here," and now it's too late, and you missed your opportunity to have your voice heard. So, let's go make sure. Let's go make sure that you are registered to vote. If you would like to speak to your representative, you can use the 5 Calls app, and that's how you can, connect to your representative. So y'all do all the great things to keep this country a great democracy. Hello, Mr. Anthony. How are you doing today?
Hey, good afternoon. How's everyone doing here? I'm doing fantastic.
All right. It's been such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.
And in your journey, to help you along in your journey of getting into this Congress in Florida, we need all the help we can get.
Definitely.
So I do want to welcome everyone for coming in. I'm going to give it just 2 more minutes to see if we can bring a few more people in.
Everyone, hi. Miss, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How's your Sunday going?
Fantastic. We just had we're just getting off of another town hall on here as well. Went fantastic.
Oh, so you've been making the rounds, huh?
Definitely. I spoke with Nikki. Does that name sound familiar? I think that's the name. I don't know. I could be mistaken. From our vote count, someone from your.
Our vote count, yes.
Yes. Yeah. About kind of collaborating or merging the two, our multi-candidate town halls with our vote counts, and that would take one more thing off our plate as well, which we're happy to do with the grassroots candidates and minimal financing. So hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're doing grassroots. Every dollar absolutely counts, helps out a lot.
But I'm glad to be here, though. Thank you for the opportunity.
We're happy to have you. Thank you for joining us.
So I'm trying to also increase the reach also by streaming this also on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook as well. Because the only thing that substitutes money is reach. Then it can be done.
I've seen some of your videos on Instagram.
You have? Oh, great. Excellent. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, we're trying to, I think we're on YouTube, Facebook, Lemonade, Instagram, Skylight, Substack, Discord.
Are you on Threads?
Threads, yes, Threads. Yep. Threads.
What's the other one? There's another one. Blue Sky. Are you Blue Sky?
Blue Sky, yep. Blue Sky, yep. We're there. We're there. We're trying to be everywhere.
That's good. You got to get all of the platforms,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely. Especially with these, not that I'm talking down to them, but the older candidates that are in their late 70s, they still haven't really
Caught
on to that. They're going door to door individually and calling people individually on the phone. Very extremely time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. We're gonna do you 2 more minutes. Got to give people 5 minutes to get in here, so they can, not miss anything.
Definitely.
But I do again want to remind people that if you have not registered to vote, please go make sure you are registered. And you can also always go check to make sure that you are currently still registered. If you moved somewhere, your registration may be in a different place. So you want to make sure all of those things are in place before the day to vote. So today we have Mr. Anthony DeRibas, who is running for a congressional seat out of the state of Florida, District 16.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, he is running independent.
Yes.
With the Florida Forward Party.
No.
Okay. So is that correct?
No. We have reached the Forward Party. We're just waiting to hear back from them. Unless they've told you something different. No party affiliation, and NPA is how we'll be listed. No party affiliation. No party affiliation.
Understand. All right, well, let's get going. Welcome to Our Vote Counts. We are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Yeah, I got a little echo here. Hold on. Let's see if I can fix that. Sorry. All right, that should be better. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. So thank you all for coming on in. I just want to give a little background on Mr. DeRibas that we have put together. Mr. Anthony DeRibas is running, as I said, for Florida's 16th Congressional District as an independent. His campaign slogan is votes, not votes. Now that means that we want to fund the people and not the billionaires, basically. Focusing on the forgotten people and not the wealthy. Anthony was born in Miami and attended Florida public schools before moving to Connecticut with his single mom and sister. While working for the United States Postal Service for 14 years, he spent some time living in a tent. When we're going to learn more about that. He also served as a community service officer in New Britain, Connecticut, their police department, and was appointed as a Reform Party Justice of Peace, serving a full 4-year term in New Britain, Connecticut. Previously running for the Register of Voters in the Newington, Connecticut election. He's currently employed as an RV resort in Florida, and is an avid wildlife conservationist. Now, he's often tending to injured and displaced animals on site, and he's pursuing an associate degree in veterinarian technology, and is currently enrolled in the 10-week program through Harvard Law in bioethics. Did I get all that right, sir?
You did. We have our certificate from Harvard Bioethics. So that's been completed. Everything else? Yay!
Is there anything I left out?
Graduate?
Say that again, Ayana?
A certificate.
Are you able to call yourself a Harvard graduate?
I think so, yes. Or certificate holding.
You're muted, sir. You're muted, Mr. Doritos.
Whoops. There we go. Yes. 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 We hold a certificate from Harvard. So
All right. Is there anything I left out that you would like to expound on, clarify, or add?
that pretty much sums it up and the premises of why we are running, because candidates like that, citizens and legislatures who have actually lived it or gone through, like you said, living in a tent, that wasn't our choice. That was something we had to do, or the street. And there's so many people like that. I mean, that we have, by the government's own numbers, which I'm sure are on the low end, 21 million Americans are living in their cars, if they're lucky enough to have a car, in the, what we continually do espouse, the most powerful and richest nation on earth. Sure.
Yes, unfortunately. That is where we are. So we're going to start off with the opening question, which is why did you decide to run independent?
That our main reason was to just looking back over the last year or 6 months about just the toxicity of between both sides at the national level, between both sides. And that's seeping down locally here, at least, and I'm only speaking from local, seeping down into the local level. When I tell people that we are working with, what did I say? When they say, "Are you running as will you run as a Democrat?" Or if I talk to other candidates, are they running as a Democrat? The response is, if they say yes, they're like, "Oh, why?" Flip it around, though, I get the same exact response 100% of the time from the Republicans locally in the district. So we chose to just step back and disassociate ourselves from that conversation and issue distraction altogether and run as something, something. We don't want a letter next to our name. We're not beholden to a party. Parties, and a lot of people don't know, parties aren't even government entities, as all of us may or may not know. They are more like corporations. They're private entities. And for you to be, what we hearing and a lot of voters say is they're anti-corporation. Parties are corporations. That's exactly what they are. They are corporations. We don't want any part of that. We will work with anyone. We've reached out to several different parties, and we've acquired some support from a few, 3 or 4 of them, different parties and different organizations. But we're about building a collaboration and working together. When you have two sides all the time, for my 58 years at least, nothing gets done because they're involving, they have like, we see it on both sides. We saw it. Now, they take the individual representatives or the president in this case, having these personal disputes or hatred for one person or another and involving 340 million people into that dispute, and nothing is getting done. For my 58 years, taxes have increased, housing has increased, healthcare has increased. Nobody on either side seems to have done anything from my point of view, and I'm sure a lot of people are fed up with that. So we said enough is enough, and we threw our hat in the ring. It looked like the Democrats were going to sit out this race. We reached out to them, and that's when we found out that Jan has filed again a 6th time to run again.
So, and let her know, we were talking about this yesterday, because we're obviously not really familiar with Florida races. How do you get your name on the ballot? You don't have to run in the primary, correct?
No, that is that's another circus here in Florida, the primaries. We either pay the $6,700 ransom from the Crown for the privilege of being put on the ballot, or we can collect 30,000 signatures, which is not going to happen with the grassroots candidate. So we're choosing to go with the payment as soon as we file it.
That way you get your name on the general election ballot.
Yes, so we start campaigning now. Circling back to the primaries, we have our two friends we consider allies. I'm not sure if they would say the same thing. Hopefully they do. The two Democratic opponents are going to spend the next up until August of next year, 90 days prior to the election, fighting each other, even though their platform and party are the same, wasting their grassroots is just like I've met both of them. They're just like ourselves. They're minimal financing grassroots candidates. They're going to waste time and resources fighting amongst each other to pick one and then come out 90 days prior to the election and hope to God that short time frame is enough to unseat a 10-term multimillionaire incumbent who has been there for 20 years. We just don't see that happening at all, and we would love for them to collaborate with us and join us as well.
Okay, thank you.
Who's the, I don't think I've looked that up. Who's the current representative for District 16?
You're in the same boat with a lot of our constituents. Out of all the people that we've talked to, no one can tell me who his name is. and I've had from our first campaign, our one of the voters back then said, never give your opponent any free airtime. So we don't tell anyone. We're not going to, but no, we all up for here, of course. It's Vern Buchanan is his name. And he bought a yacht back in 2017. Votes, not votes.
Exactly. Well, Mr. Anthony, we are going to go ahead and get into our question and answer portion of this live. I'm going to start this. Ms. Ayala is going to start this off with a question about economics.
Yes, and you've proposed eliminating the IRS for 99% of Americans. So you want to eliminate the office completely
Again.
and replace income taxes under $100,000 with a surtax on millionaires until the national debt is paid. How would you ensure this brings enough revenue without risking underfunding for critical programs like Social Security and healthcare?
Excellent. So this increases the revenue. We don't touch any social programs. Everything stays for the moment, at least as it is. We would like to expand those programs. So we're not looking to do anything with them in the way of cuts. What we do is and this has been done before, so we're doing it again, increasing the tax revenue on those making $600,000 and above. And then we have, if you look at the IRS revenue that they take in, it's a 60-40 split. 40% of the revenue of taxes being paid by corporations, 60% being paid by you, me, and everyone here, individuals. We want to turn that up, flip that. So everyone gets an immediate 20% tax deduction. So that revenue stays the same. The revenue coming in to the IRS is about $7 trillion, I believe. So that's the number we're working with. That would be higher, obviously, with more taxation from, I think revenue right now is 39%. I think millionaires are those making 600,000 and above are taxed at right now, 39%. We want to increase that up to, again, back up to 50%. And none of our policies are permanent. The libertarian heart in me says, let things play as is. But when corporations are gouging or abusing their financial footing to individuals, then the government should step in at least temporarily as a correction to make it better for American citizens. Everyone within our borders. I'm not even talking about just citizens. Everyone within our borders, our soil. So those are the figures. Go ahead.
Citizens, your platform focuses on the working class people. How would you ensure that the people in your district would be earning a living wage?
The federal wage needs to be increased. We can go on here and look. There's studies that have been done that the $15, $13, $20 wage has not caught up with what prices are currently. That could be phased in or done immediately. And to offset the cost of some of these smaller businesses that legitimately cannot afford, or that would have issues, have financial trouble paying that livable wage, we suggest or propose that instead of financing, or instead of subsidizing Walmart and Tyson, corporations that have profits, that are profitable, subsidizing the smaller businesses, the small pizza shops, the small convenience stores, that type. So again, we're not doing anything different. We're just reallocating and repositioning the finances that are already there.
Okay, thank you. So you want to? I like that relocating. I like that. Okay, so I didn't notice any questions in the chat. Buttermilk, did you see any? Anybody have any questions for Mr. Deribas thus far?
I did not see any, but you are welcome to request up if you do have a question for Mr. Deribas concerning the economics of economic development.
It seems that eliminating the IRS, that resonated with a few people in the chat.
Well, circling back to that, the only thing that's been brought up when we talk to voters on that is who would collect the money. Every state has a Department of Revenue, so the structure is already there to collect any kind of revenue coming in through the 50 states. When I was in Connecticut, we had a Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue in Alabama has a Department of Revenue that handles driver's licenses. Every state has a Department of Revenue. The IRS is like the whipped cream that's on top of the, something that's already there. So, and again, we're going back to, we didn't always have the IRS. We did okay without it.
I'm with any idea that still funds our union without making me pay. Whatever that idea is, I'm with it.
So, well, I do have a question in the chat, though. Peace Life Journey wants to know if local and state taxes will increase under your plan.
We don't want to increase anything. Again, at a federal level, local and state are handled with your local legislatures as well. At the federal level, no, we're not. We wouldn't increase any. There should be no increase underneath the federal level. Again, your question was about states and local taxation. That would be, if we were running for a state legislature or a state, our answer would be the same, but your state legislature, state senator, state representatives, and local town commissioners are the ones that would be in control of that.
Well, because naturally, if they see revenue that they receive from the federal government decreasing at all, their tax revenue, like for education or Medicaid, they might decide that they want to increase their state income taxes to offset that.
Yeah, but we are not. We're talking about increasing with our temporary tax on the ultra wealthy. We would be increasing our revenue in essence. In addition to that, we would like to stop paying interest and start paying the debt down as well. That would save us $880 billion there. We're looking into the ICE budget, another $880 billion. Patrolling the South China Sea, $42 billion every year. Argentina, $20 billion. The money is there to take care of the union, the states. They're just, like I said, it's just poorly mismanaged. If all 535 members of Congress worked for a private institution and managed the money like they are currently doing, there's not a business on earth that would keep them employed. Not running a $38 trillion deficit. No business on earth would keep them employed. None. They'd all be fired.
Okay, I got you. Buttermilk, over to you.
All right, so much. I'm going to veer into the conversation of public safety. You said that we should end the endless wars, the WARs, spending, and redirect those funds to housing, healthcare, and schools. What specific criteria would you use to decide which overseas operations to end, and how would you address concerns about national security?
As far as which overseas, I'll start with that one. Which ones to end? And this sounds extreme, but when we're running a negative $38 trillion deficit, we cannot afford any. We can't afford to help anyone. I'm not against helping any nation by any means, but at the expense of the quality of life of our own people within our borders, that's just not going to happen underneath us. We want to take care of everyone that's on our soil, not just citizens. That includes undocumented. So, like I said, like I referenced earlier, $42 billion patrolling the South China Sea for Vietnam and the Philippines. That money should be here, and as much as possible here in FL16 for the unhoused, for health coverage, housing, health. The three top issues that when we talked about is housing, healthcare, and immigration. Housing and healthcare, they affect, the dishwasher at Chili's, the cashier at Publix. Those people have been long forgotten. Their wages need to come up. Their healthcare needs to be affordable and accessible. And looking again, we've done the frustrating, boring work of actually looking at the continuing resolution that's passed last time. Now they want to do it again. The money for healthcare, we already spend $1.9 trillion covering uninsured people in the nation. For another $2 trillion, we can cover everyone on our soil. $4 trillion, universal healthcare. They just raised the budget debt ceiling, the last continuing resolution, by $4 trillion. But not one person, even on the Democratic side, I didn't hear anyone calling for a concrete decision to say, let's do this. If we're going to raise $4 trillion of money and sink us more, at least give people universal healthcare at a minimum. Schooling, education is another thing. The money from the tariffs that goes to the government and then that's passed on, of course, we know by the corporations, or they can choose to eat it, which they're not. $50 billion. That would give everyone on our soil, again, those who want it, universal education to a 2 or 4 year university. The money is there. Again, the money is there. Housing, we could do vouchers for rent. We put together a bill that protects renters because that's the most, if you have a home, you're ahead of the game at this point. Most of the people rent, about 60 to 80% of the population. Just to get in, you have to have a credit file. These are all, my parents never had to apply to rent an apartment. Then the first month, your last month, your security. It's like buying a home all over again, and it prices so many people out of the market that they have to live in tents or in a motel or on the street under a bridge in the richest country on earth. It sounds to me like we're not the richest country on earth.
It doesn't sound that way. I do want to say that, I hear you about getting, using more of the monies that we put into this government to actually help us, as opposed to using it in far-off lands. But do you feel like a bit of it is for national safety, international security? If we are patrolling the South Seas, it is to ensure that they don't have a step up ahead of us and get over here before we know what's going on. So it's a sort of it is some money needs to go into protection, but maybe not as much as it is. Go ahead, Mr.
Yep, I had to look into